I used to believe my mind was a private place, sealed off from the rest of the world. Thoughts came and went like weather, some gentle, some violent, but all of them mine alone to endure. When people asked how I was doing, I learned to smile in a way that required no honesty. It was easier to let them assume I was fine than to explain the noise inside my head, the way even quiet moments felt crowded. Every morning, I rode the same bus into the city. It was old and rattled like it might fall apart at any moment, but it was predictable, and I liked that. Predictability gave me something solid to hold on to. I always sat in the third seat from the back on the left side, headphones in, eyes on the window. The glass reflected my face faintly, like a ghost following me, and sometimes I wondered if that reflection was more real than the person everyone else saw. My thoughts were loud on that bus. Regrets replayed themselves with cruel precision. Conversations from years ago returned, offering improved versions of what I should have said. Fears lined up neatly, waiting their turn. By the time I reached my stop, I was already exhausted, as if I'd argued with a room full of people all morning. One day, the bus was more crowded than usual. Construction had shut down a main road, and everyone had been rerouted onto my familiar route. My seat was taken. I stood near the middle, gripping a metal pole, trying to balance as the bus lurched forward. Without my usual spot and routine, my mind felt even more unstable. That's when I noticed the woman sitting near me. She was older, maybe in her late 60s, with silver hair pulled back into a loose bun. She wore a simple blue shawl and held a canvas bag on her lap, fingers resting on it as if it contained something fragile. What struck me most was her expression. She wasn't staring at her phone or out the window. She was watching people, not in a nosy way, but with a softness, as though she were silently wishing them well. When the bus jerked suddenly, I lost my balance. Before I could react, her hand reached out and steadied my arm. Her grip was gentle but sure. "Careful," she said, smiling up at me. "Thank you," I replied automatically, then looked away, embarrassed by the sudden contact. She didn't withdraw her hand immediately. Instead, she patted my arm once, like a reassuring punctuation mark, then returned her hands to her bag. That small gesture lingered longer than it should have. It was nothing, really, just politeness, but it cut through the noise in my head like a clear bell. A few stops later, someone got off, and I took the empty seat across from her. I put my headphones back in but didn't turn on any music. I found myself watching her instead, the way she adjusted her shawl, the way her eyes softened whenever a child laughed or someone struggled with their groceries. At one point, she caught me looking and smiled again. Not the polite, fleeting smile people use out of obligation, but something warmer. "You look tired," she said. The words startled me. Not because they were rude, but because they were accurate in a way that felt invasive. I almost denied it out of habit. "I guess," I said. She nodded, as if I'd confirmed something she already knew. The mind can be a very noisy place. I froze. My headphones were still around my neck. She couldn't hear my thoughts. It was just a coincidence. And yet, my chest tightened. "Do you ever wish," she continued, "that you could just step outside your thoughts for a while? Like taking off heavy shoes at the end of the day." I swallowed. "All the time." She smiled, not triumphantly, but kindly. "You're not strange for that." We rode in silence for a minute, the bus humming beneath us. I felt exposed, but also strangely lighter, as if something heavy had shifted. "I used to think," she said, "that everyone else's mind was quiet. That I was the only one struggling to keep up with my own thoughts. It took me many years to learn that most people are carrying more than they show." I studied her face, the fine lines etched there not by bitterness but by experience. "How did you learn that?" She tapped her canvas bag. "By listening. And by being listened to, when I was lucky enough to find someone kind." My stop was approaching. Panic flared unexpectedly. I didn't want this moment to end, didn't want to return to the familiar loneliness of my inner world. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "I don't even know your name." "Miriam," she replied. "And you?" I told her. She repeated my name softly, as if tasting it. "It was good to meet you." The bus slowed. I stood, unsure of what else to say. As I stepped off, she called out, "Remember, thoughts are visitors. You don't have to build them a home." I nodded, unsure if I believed her, but grateful nonetheless. That encounter should have faded into memory like most small interactions do. But it didn't. Over the next few days, her words returned to me at unexpected moments. When my thoughts began to spiral, I imagined them as guests knocking at my door. Some were welcome. Others I could choose not to entertain. A week later, I saw her again on the bus. This time, the seat beside her was empty. She smiled as soon as she noticed me, and something warm spread through my chest. "You came back," she said. "So did you," I replied, surprising myself with the ease of my response. From then on, we rode together whenever our schedules aligned. We talked about small things at first: the weather, the city, the way time seemed to move faster the older you got. Slowly, the conversations deepened. She told me about her husband, who had passed away years ago, and how the quiet after his death had been louder than any noise she'd known. I told her about my constant self-doubt, about the feeling that my mind was a courtroom where I was always on trial. She never dismissed my feelings or rushed to fix them. She listened. Truly listened. Sometimes she shared stories of her own struggles, not to compare, but to connect. One morning, she handed me a small notebook from her canvas bag. "What's this?" I asked. "A place to put your thoughts when they get too loud," she said. "You don't have to write anything beautiful. Just honest." "I don't know if I'm good at that." She chuckled. "Honesty doesn't require skill." I carried that notebook everywhere. I wrote in it on lunch breaks, on the bus, late at night when sleep refused to come. Some pages were messy, angry, incoherent. Others were surprisingly gentle. Over time, I noticed something shift. The thoughts didn't disappear, but they felt less overwhelming once they were outside my head. One evening, after a particularly hard day, I opened the notebook and found a note written in unfamiliar handwriting. "You are not broken for feeling deeply. You are not weak for needing rest. And you are never as alone as your thoughts claim." Tears blurred the words. I knew immediately it was from her. I hadn't even noticed when she'd written it. The next time I saw her, I thanked her, my voice unsteady. She waved it off lightly. We all need reminders. Even me. Weeks turned into months. Our bus rides became an anchor in my day. Through her quiet kindness, I began to practice offering the same to myself. I started noticing other people, too: the tired cashier, the anxious coworker, the stranger gripping a pole on a crowded bus. I smiled more. I listened more. One day, the seat beside me was empty, and she didn't board the bus. I waited. One stop passed. Then another. She never came. Days went by without her. I worried, imagining all the worst possibilities my mind was so good at producing. Finally, after 2 weeks, I found a note tucked into my notebook: "Dear friend. My health has asked me to slow down for a while. I won't be riding the bus, but I carry our conversations with me. Remember what you've learned, not from me, but from yourself. You were never alone in your mind. You just hadn't met all the companions yet. With affection, Miriam." I closed the notebook and rested my hand on it, feeling a quiet steadiness settle in my chest. The bus rattled on, full of strangers and stories I couldn't see. My thoughts still came, loud and insistent at times. But now, when they did, they were met with something new: patience, understanding, and the echo of kindness that had shown me the truth. I wasn't alone in my mind. And for the first time, I truly believed it.